You can have perfect 20/20 vision and still be completely blind to the forces actually steering your life. Apostle Joshua Selman points out a common human trap. People spend decades copying what others are doing in business or ministry simply because it looks successful on paper. They follow the external steps but lack the internal vision to know what God is actually building. Physical sight only captures surface data. It shows you the gesture, but never the hidden intent behind it. When Judas kissed Jesus, the physical actions signaled deep affection. Jesus, however, looked past the biological data and saw the betrayal. Selman argues that your physical eyes are merely biological hardware. True spiritual sight operates completely differently. It functions like downloaded software, a highly specific gift that must be actively installed into your human operating system. Gathering more physical facts will never solve a cycle of repeated life failures. To prevent disaster, you need a completely different operating system of sight. These are the excavated ruins of ancient Jericho. It was here that a man named Bartimaeus sat at the wayside of a path he had the feet to walk and the mind to navigate. Yet, because of his blindness, he remained stationary while the world moved past him. Look closely at the text of Luke 18. When Jesus asks Bartimaeus what he wants, the man does not ask Jesus to open his eyes. He explicitly asks that he might receive his sight. This distinction suggests that sight isn't a byproduct of open eyelids. It is an independent capacity that exists entirely apart from the biological state of the eye. The Apostle Paul, a key leader in the early Christian church, proves the inverse of this. After being physically blinded on the road to Damascus, Paul sat in a house for days with his eyes shut tight. Yet in that physical darkness, he was actively seeing vivid spiritual visions. True sight is an active, divine installation. It operates entirely independently of your optical nerves. When this spiritual software is installed, it activates specific communication channels. The primary channel God uses to transmit data is the realm of dreams and visions. This maps the mechanism described in the book of Job. As your biological state powers down in sleep, your spiritual receiver forcefully powers up. In this window, God transmits a specific data packet, a destiny blueprint. This unpacks into precise geographical coordinates and exact chronological timing. Selman experienced this firsthand in 2013. He was considering moving his ministry to Abuja, but during one of these nighttime transactions, he saw a vision of a plane taking off and crashing before it landed. That specific data proved the timing was wrong, averting a major geographical mistake. This turns the hours of physical rest into the most active data transfer period of a person's life. If this communication system is so exact, why do believers still receive false directions and make terrible life choices based on their dreams? Because the system has an interceptor. Satan actively targets this specific communication bandwidth, polluting the dream channel to plant fear and false data. The methodology traces back to the Garden of Eden. The serpent spoke directly to Eve, but his ultimate manipulation only succeeded when he managed to alter what she actually saw. This creates a dangerous psychological feedback loop. A believer acts on a hacked, false vision, which leads to a devastating failure. That failure immediately plants a deep sense of fear and hesitation. Burned by the experience, the believer decides they can no longer trust what they see. They proactively choose to ignore all future spiritual visions, manually shutting off their own receiver. The interceptor's objective is not to force a single bad life decision. The goal is to convince you to permanently disconnect your spiritual bandwidth. When you carry these downloaded destiny blueprints into the waking world, the result is total, unshakable confidence, even when surrounded by chaos. The seeing eye completely scales your reality. It allows a leader to look at a room containing only 5 people and accurately see the architecture of entire nations. When the Apostle Paul was caught in a violent, literal storm at sea, he rested peacefully while everyone else panicked. He had already previewed the final outcome in a vision and knew there would be no loss of life. Contrast that peace with the paralyzing anxiety that defines most modern life. Relying strictly on physical evidence leaves you trapped in an endless cycle of guesswork and stress. By fiercely protecting your nighttime transactions and demanding the gift of sight, you eliminate the guesswork. You can stop copying the crowds and boldly navigate the exact coordinates of your destiny.